Well, where were you on the 27th October in Celtic accept the resignation of a manager they wanted rid of? Oneill's back. The goat of, on the bus anyway. I mean, there's only one thing you can do in these moments, and it's sound the klaxon. He's back. Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. I love Martin, obviously. And again, of course, it's from the old black book, the old green book, whatever you want to call it. I mean, knew Sean Maloney would be involved. We fucking did a show about an hour and a half ago discussing Rodgers leaving. Would you be for it? Would you not? Obviously, you watched the bus. He's seen the majority before him leaving, and he decided to resign. He has resigned. I'll just read out the statement very quickly, just to give you guys the sort of the breakdown. Unbelievable. See, I've still got the living room light on. I don't normally have that on. Makes I look even older than normal. So it's usually dimmed lights or just the green one. But I will. I'll read out the statement they posted at 9:44. So 12 minutes ago, Celtic posted Celtic Football Club can confirm that football manager Brendan Rodgers has today tendered his resignation. Wow, he won't be getting called a rat this time, I don't think. He won't be getting called a rat for it. I'll just bring it up on the screen so you can all read it as well. It's been accepted by the club, of course it has, and Brendan will leave his role with immediate effect. The club appreciates Brendan's contribution to Celtic during his two very successful periods at the club. Brendan leaves Celtic with our thanks for the role he has played during a period of continued success for the club, and we wish him further success in the future. It's all bollocks. You don't like him. He doesn't like you. The process to appoint a new permanent manager is underway, and the club will update supporters on further on this as soon as possible. And then, I think Rodgers leaving isn't the big surprise. This is the blockbuster moment, guys. We are pleased that during this interim period, former Celtic manager Martin Oneill and former Celtic player Sean Maloney have agreed to take charge of first team matters. Further details will be confirmed shortly. Well, it doesn't get much more explosive than that on a Monday night, does it? Wow. Unbelievable. I have to be honest, and I like to be honest, I'm sad that Rodgers' tenure came to an end in the manner it has. I am relieved in a way because the biggest thing for me with Celtic is winning things and being successful as possible. And I think the long battle, as I spoke of earlier, that we're going to have to get rid of the board would always last longer than the manager that they don't want there in the interim. If Rodgers had flew in the face of the hurdles they put in front of him and excelled at his job and was smashing it at the park, I think that board could have been sped up in terms of 1-2 exits here and there. think right now we're looking at a manager leaving who was sadly underperforming when the tools he was given were not quite right, but still had, I think, enough to be doing a better job than he was. I mean, it's just crazy though what we're seeing today. It's just mad. Celtic girl, now you're at it, Boise. I can't leave this pod because it keeps kicking me off the chat. I don't know what that means, but Martin Oneill and Sean Maloney are the current managers of Celtic. It's explosive stuff. Strange love. Yes, mate. Yes. You have just took what was going to be my next bit of conversation. There is excitement in it because I thought that Rodgers resigning means he's just waived said payoff that we were discussing a couple of hours ago. And that Celtic, the reason we think Celtic who do want rid of him, actually went getting rid of him yet again, not making the right football decision for the football club and putting pennies before the pitch. And it's so frustrating. However, this is brilliant because, as you rightfully say, if he's resigned, then there can't be an NDA. If there's not an NDA, no non-disclosure agreement for those who aren't sure what an NDA is, that means he can come out and now go, I ain't doing a Lenny. What Lenny was doing at the weekend. I ain't going to kiss ass. This is how it works. This is what they did. And we might get some insight. And by the way, he could become, with that, as important a voice as the fans collective has ever had. Has anyone considered that bit? Has anyone considered the fact if Rodgers does prove, and this might be the big kicker for him to turn it all around, go prove, Brendan, you really are a Celtic fan, the Celtic fan at heart that you've always maintained and that I have always believed. Because the way I see it is, you've got one more duty to do with the Celtic manager or not, and that is tell the supporters why you've resigned. Tell the supporters why you've left. I hope to the love of God this accepted resignation came at some sort of compensation cost, or maybe paid more than the compensation amount, and it's being allowed to be portrayed as resignation because you're getting paid more. These deals happen, by the way, in football. Of course they do. I just think he's got one task left, and his task left is now tell us what is going on. Give the collective, give the whole support as well, the balance to the debate. Tell us who went to the Sun. Tell us what you've been turned down in the windows. We need to know, and we all want to know. And you might just do the biggest favour, bigger than the trebles, bigger than the Champions League qualifiers for the first spell. This could be it. And then, as Strange Love says, we then get Martin Oneill to put a little steel into the side. A little steel. Jeez, oh, it's been a while since I said it on this channel, but my balls are tickling a wee bit. Martin is not there to coach. Martin is there to be the man that Martin is. He wasn't a coach first time round, head coach. No, he has ideas for how he wants his team to set up. Let me, Sean, do that first team coaching. He's done that role for Belgium before, under statesmen like Roberto Martinez, who also likes to do the technical side, of course. But let Martin start reminding people what football club that. We don't want to do with the Rangers Road either, though, too much been like, Brian Brogues and all that, and this is what it's all about. But I wouldn't mind seeing Martin O'Neill in a rugby shirt with 31 on it. Let me know your thoughts. But this has been, the whole time I've done the bus, I think this is the most explosive night I've had so far doing this channel. Sean Trivet says who takes his job permanent? They'll work under that board. Well, you won't believe me, Sean, but we were talking about it only 2 hours ago. Less than 2 hours ago, hour and a half ago. Fuck, I went live when did I go live? 8:30 till 9:05, 9:10 tonight. And by 10:05, I'm telling you, Martin Oneill is now the manager of Celtic again. Wow, I'm a wee bit shocked. Graham Bell, buzzing for this. First time in months, we've been poor this calendar for the first time in months. We've been so poor this calendar year. We have, Graham, there's no two ways about it. Boy says it's tremendous. Time will tell if it's tremendous or not. One thing is, Brendan, you also have to give him his due. It sounds like I'm trying to give him his due all the time. But by Brendan resigning, he gives other people the opportunity before January to work with his Honda Civics. And if they all get, if there's a tune to be had and we get the tune out them, you know, suddenly he looks like a bit of a fanny as well, footballing wise. Stand vs Celtic. Brendan walked away from £2 million for the good of the fans. For the good of the fans. For the good of the fans, there's one thing we've been the best part of £2 million, Sam Fran, and I agree with that point. But he has to go the further. He has to go the further step. And he has to start shining a light on what's going on at that football club and giving the head start to the fans collective. See, the same way he was anonymously bitched about and lied about. He should, front, left and centre, tell the truth about that. He doesn't owe the fans it, but it'd be a fantastic gesture to leave doing that. I think, as I've said as well, I think it's the right thing that he is not the manager anymore. I think it's for the best. I think football-wise it went murder. I think he was so disillusioned, as we all speculated on, and maybe this is just it signposted now in black and white, that Brendan had absolutely lost faith at the football club and hierarchy was working beneath. And he probably believed he would still be able to fight in the face of fire, and he's not been able to. He's not. And by the way, that is also the truth. He's not at all been good enough. So there we have it. What does Martin Oneill do? That is every Celtic decision. Now, you know I love Martin Oneill. So they'll play on to my biases, I suppose, with that call. No, my biases aren't important in all this, though, of course. What does Martin Oneill bring to the table that they find unique in this time of not having a manager? Or is it always going to be, whilst it's an interim appointment, always someone from their black book, and we just need to accept that, and we need to say, do you know what? What's this boy say? Refresh. Refresh what? What are you talking about? Or is there more? Oh, Dermot Desmond has made a statement. Okay. Let's share this. I am reading this for the first time. I have seen it, so I'm going to read it fresh with you guys. Thank you, Celtic Girl, as always, with the inside scoops. Let's have it. This is interesting. Brendan Rodgers has today tendered his resignation as manager of Celtic Football Club. I want to acknowledge Brendan's contribution across his 2 spells as manager, during which he helped deliver success that forms part of the club's modern history. However, I must also express my deep disappointment at the way the past several months have unfolded. Here we go. When we brought Brendan back to Celtic 2 years ago, it was done with complete trust and belief in his ability to lead the club into a new era of sustained success. Unfortunately, his conduct and communication in recent months have not reflected that trust. In June, both Michael Nicholson and I expressed to Brendan that we were keen to offer him a contract extension to reaffirm the club's full backing and long-term commitment to him. He said he would need to think about it and revert. Yet in subsequent press conferences, Brendan implied that the club had made no commitment to offer him a new contract. That was simply untrue. We met with Brendan regularly, including in December last year, and at the start of the summer, with regular dialogue in between to discuss and agree a collective strategy, priorities, and approach. Every player signed and every player sold during his tenure was done so with Brendan's full knowledge, approval, and endorsement. Any insinuation otherwise is absolutely false. I am going to tell you all now, that's the falsest thing I've ever seen come from Celtic. I'm going to break this all down. I'm going to just read it out once and then I'll break it all down. His later public statements about transfers and club operations came entirely out of the blue. At no point prior to those remarks had he raised any such concerns with me, Michael, who are you going to speak to Michael for, or any other member of the board or executive team. In reality, he was given final say over all football matters and was consistently backed in the recruitment process, including record investment in players he personally identified and approved. When his comments were made publicly, I sought to address them directly. Brendan and I met for 3 hours at his home in Scotland to discuss the issue. Despite ample opportunity, he was unable to identify a single instance where the club had obstructed or failed to support him. The facts did not match his public narrative. Amazing. Regrettably, his words and actions since then have been divisive, misleading, and self-serving. They've contributed to a toxic atmosphere around the club and fueled hostility towards members of the executive team and the board. Some of the abuse directed at them and their families has been entirely unwarranted and unacceptable. We'll cover this. Every member of the board and executive team is deeply passionate about Celtic and acts at all times with professionalism, integrity, and a shared desire for success. What's failed recently was not due to our structure or model, but to one's individual desire for self-preservation at the expense of others. Celtic's structure, where the manager oversees football, the chief executive manages operations, and the board provides oversight, has served the club with great success for more than 2 decades. Depends what you consider as that, of course. We all share the same ambition to ensure Celtic's continued success domestically and to achieve further progress. Any progress, Dermot, you clown. Every pound generated by the club is reinvested towards those goals. Lies! And the continuous improvement of Celtic Football Club. Celtic is greater than any one person. Our focus is now on restoring harmony, strengthening the squad, and continuing to build a worthy of its values, traditions, and supporters. Well, guys, that is even more explosive than the news this came in today. But do you know what? We're going to go through it again and we're going to break it down. But first takeaways before I do that. See, if you want to act like that, Dermot. I see, Dermot, when you want to talk to us about your beef, your meetings, your disappointment, your disgust, it means, tell me this, Dermot. Why did he have to resign? And why didn't you sack him? You've just admitted there. If let's just take your face value, you have just admitted there. Everything is about the fucking pound, the pound note. It's all it's about. Because otherwise, based on all those examples, if they are true, I highly doubt it. Let's say though, we take your face value. You've just given a million reasons to have that manager fired for the best of Celtic. And you couldn't do it. You are a fucking liar. You are a fanny, a liar, and you underestimate people like myself and many other Celtic fans here intelligence. Let's go through it again. We're going to do one of those 3 beer sips delays before we do it. But I'm going to break this down and give you my instant take. And I'm pretty good at this shit. I ain't a lawyer, by the way. Let's have it right. Fucking can homeowner conversation. I understand language. I understand bullshit. I can smell it. I can smell it right now for that statement. However, I must also express my deep disappointment in the way the past several months have unfolded. So he's telling you where he's going to go. This is going to be his backlash. I'll tell you my instinct to that. My instinctive thought to that is, this sounds already like a man teeing up a bitter reply to a bird who's dumped him, or a bloke who's dumped him. You get dumped. Well, I never really wanted you anyway. That's how it looks. You want to dump? I was going to dump you anyway. I was just sick of you, man. That's why you dumped me. You like dumping me because I was going to dump you, wasn't I? Honest. When we brought Brendan back, right, let's see how he was done. Unfortunately, his conduct and his communication in recent months have not reflected that trust. So it's been months you've thought this, Dermot. Again, no action. In June, you offered him a new deal. Yet, in multiple press conferences, subsequent press conferences, notice it's plural, Brendan implied that the club had made no commitment to offer him a contract. It was simply untrue. Okay. If that's untrue, did you pull him on that? Is that what led to you leaking a story to the Sun that your silly wee pals in the boardroom all denied in a meeting? Because this statement, even there, I already now know beyond doubt, that statement there tells me you went to the Sun. Roger Hanna defended and backed the story in his paper because he knew it was true. You told your fans who put the money you claim to reinvest every pound of, we'll get to that shit. You told them to their face you never did that story on him. I'm reading that story again, just in club statement form. Liars. Utter liars, these pricks. Okay. We met with Brendan regularly, including in December last year. That's just normal stuff, mate. And at the start, some regular dialogue in between to discuss and agree a collective strategy, priorities, and approach. Do you believe this, guys? Let's do like we did in the earlier show. I'm going to read out this statement, and then I just want a quick yes or no. Do you agree every player signed and every player sold during his tenure was done so with Brendan's full knowledge, approval, and endorsement? Any insinuation otherwise is absolutely false. Go. Very intrigued to see the sort of first 10 comments I get on this, because that to me is crazy. And in the meantime, saying, look at the word revert. Where the hell was the word revert? But yeah, all the comments coming, absolutely no chance. Nebula says maybe he meant or. Yeah, I mean, I don't see any way that's possible whatsoever. What annoys me more now is when you see at no point in those remarks had he raised any such concerns with me. Why would he always be going to you, Dermot? I thought you had the board to do that, because you're actually in the same statement, remember, talk about the chief executive is to run the operations and the board sort of are just there to oversight it. What are you? You're the guy who plays golf, mate, in the middle of fucking nowhere. You fuck off. How about that? Don't make out you're going to be getting phoned when it comes to signing Yamada. Or who the fuck is this Inamura guy the club's just paid 250 grand for? Oh, I'll run to Desmond. What? And then clash with the board to do so. You're a clever man, Dermot. You're not as clever as you think. You're not as clever as you think. Michael doesn't answer his phone either, so it'd be difficult to speak to him too. Michael's a bit of a scaredy cat, it turns out. I think they mentioned there of including record investment in players he personally identified and approved. Yep. Either you managed to get him on the last day of the window, either he wanted for nothing like record levels of investment, he wanted him at the end of the season, at the end of his loan spell, and he wanted him for around £5 million. So it's very clever, the lingo you're using here, Dermot, if you're a dafty. I'm not a dafty. The guys who watch a bus and the girls who watch a bus aren't dafties. And we all know you are at it right now with that. So Adam Eder was spent £9 million on. You could have got him for 5. That's on you. Feelings by you that entered record investment territory. That should have been around the same fee we paid for, in fact, less than what we paid for Oneill Berkovic in 1999. Yep, 25. It's 25 summers before we signed Oneill Berkovic for $5.5 million. That's the fee. That's probably less than that we could have gotten for. Record investment in Arnie Ingles resulted in part to our best Champions League season in 20 years. So casting that up like a fucking fanny is exactly what they did at the meeting with Celtic Girl, as we all know. I sought to address them directly. I met Brendan for over 3 hours. Now, Brendan, who we've all said, the king of Jedi mind tricks, someone who's exceptional at when it comes to publicly speaking, I would guess meeting speaking as well, can hold his own, suddenly is dumbstruck as to when he knows he's pushing buttons at the media press conferences, has no idea as to why he's doing it, and has no examples on the hoof, on the spot to give to the most intimidating man in football that you never see, Dermot Desmond, who's had to go back to his 2000 black book to bring in Martin O'Neill's quarter of a century ago book. See the problem with this guy, guys, honestly. He's a fanny. Brendan didn't have a single instance where the club had obstructed or failed to support him. The facts did not match his public narrative. Tell me one time Brendan says, the club has failed me, failed to support me. It's all wordsmith play, this. And by the way, this statement was not written tonight. This statement has been waiting to come. Regrettably, his words and actions since then have been divisive, misleading, self-serving. They've contributed to a toxic atmosphere around the club and fueled hostility towards members of the executive team and the board. Wrong again. Wrong again. If Brendan had been able to get a tune out of that team, the fans and the manager would never have been more united against you bastards. Believe you me, it's a failing on Brendan. It's a failing on Brendan that we did not achieve better outcomes on the football pitch, regardless of the tools that you fucking left him with, or regardless of the tools you took from him. Yeah? You would have been fucking raging. This is what I keep saying to everyone. There was two sides to this, a double-edged sword. If Brendan had achieved results right now, whilst they tried to tie two arms behind his back in the summer, they wouldn't actually have liked it because it would have meant all eyes remained on the board. But what's actually turned into happening is because he's started fucking up the results, they're fucking lapping it up. And they're not able to try and plant narratives like this. That if you fall for, you are off your head. Off your head. Is he a bit divisive? Yes, of course he is. Martin O'Neill was as well, by the way. And now he's back. And do you know what it is? They believe that board can achieve more from Celtic than what they do. They think there's better product to be put on that park. Sadly, I feel Martin O'Neill this time around. Whilst with the players, he could be great. I'm very concerned he could be a bit of a patsy to the board. Do you know what I mean? And I hope not, but I think he might wave his pom-poms at the board and him waving pom-poms at each other, really, to be honest. Right, where was I? Regrettably, his words and act, yep, talked to atmosphere, we've done that. Right, okay. Every member of the board and executive team is deeply passionate about Celtic. See the fact you need to, recount that. Why the fuck else would you be here, mate? At all times out with professionalism. Talk to us about that Sun report. Integrity. Talk to me about that Sun report. and a shared desire for success. Talk to him about how shite you are at it then. It's great. I desire success for Celtic. It doesn't mean I would know how to navigate the world's transfer windows. That's your job, unfortunately, for you guys. So you can desire it all you want, but why does it say at the end, we're and a shared desire for success with an acknowledgement we're pish at it? That's what it should say there. But this is amazing. What has failed recently was not due to our structure or model. So that is it. See, that is it for the collective, for everyone. You have to read that, read it again. What has failed recently was not due to our structure or model, but to one individual's desire for self-preservation at the expense of others. Please, please, please do not believe this. You have to stay true to what we're trying to do here. They have just proven their agenda, just proven their mentality. They want you to all now turn away from them and blame it all on Brendan. And they've actually said it. They've got the confidence as that statement goes on to do it in their own words. I am utterly disgusted at them being able to say that. Utterly disgusted at them saying that, or him saying that. He's put his own name on it. He thinks he's a big man by putting Dermot Desmond at the bottom, whilst normally it's just like Celtic Football Club. Fuck off, mate. You know what I mean? 26% face, you know what I mean? Go fuck off. Absolute wanker. Absolute wanker of a man. I'm disgusted at this whole thing. He's a fanny. A total fanny. He needs to get the fuck. That's the problem. Big 26% face calls all the shots at a football club. He owns the pie, but owns just over a quarter of it. Wake up! Oh, that's been done. I can't be asked reading the other two. I've done half an hour. I am disgusted at that statement by Desmond. If we recap what's happened tonight, Brendan Rodgers has explosively resigned as manager of Celtic ahead of a League Cup semi-final against Rangers, but I think at the right time football-wise. At the right time football-wise. His disillusionment with Celtic has grown so far, he's had to go back on his word that he would 110% be there for 3 years. Martin Oneill is back in Celtic colours. Martin Oneill with Sean Maloney kidding on his joint manager, but he'd be lucky, being lucky just to be in his presence. We'll be beside him. Can that still work though 25 years on? Or 20 years on from when he left? I don't know. I really don't know. What are Celtic's plans to get a new manager in? They're going to let this roll. We said this in the last show I did. They're going to let this roll 3-4 games. You mark my words. If we get 3 or 4 wins, they're there to the end of the season. And then they take it from there. You win the league, they're in there long term. Or on 2-year deals, whatever. Tonight, after the announcement of Rodgers leaving, they decided to say they would release a statement with more info. They did, and it was under the name of Dermot Desmond. Dermot Desmond has absolutely thrown Brendan under the bus, but he has done it in such a strong, fake, full of lies manner that your auntie won't believe it. Your great auntie won't believe it. My cat doesn't fucking believe it. The cat's, in fact, a bad example because he's pretty intelligent. No one's believing that pish. And if you do, we'll fool you. What they've tried to do is put a sting in the tail of a very good football manager who's lost his way because he's so disillusioned and so deflated, and has to take responsibility for that, and has done, by the way, by resigning for the good of the club. He made the right call too. What I see though now is a board trying to capitalise, jump on the bandwagon of a resignation, and I've literally, within that statement, I will remind you, I've literally within that statement said what has failed recently was not due to our structure or our model, but to one individual's desire for self-preservation at the expense of others. I think that's an absolutely disgusting statement. See, when they say our focus is now on restoring harmony, strengthening the squad, and continuing to build a club worthy of its values, traditions, supporters, start by removing yourself, cunt. I'll leave you with that. An explosive night. Thanks to everyone who's watched. I'll see you all there.